Today we're moving right along to lesson 1.4, and today our learning goal, which you should have written down in your notebook, is to be able to use exponents to convert measurements within the same measuring system. Okay, so what that means is converting centimeters to meters, or millimeters to centimeters, or millimeters to meters, or grams to kilograms within the same measuring system to make some conversions. Okay, but first let's talk about the problem of the day. We're just going to do this speed round. 100 is equal to 10 to the power of 2. 1,000 is equal to 10 to the power of
3.
10,000 is equal to 10 to the power of
4.
And 1,000,000 is equal to 10 to the power of
6.
How are you able to figure that out so quickly? Arhan?
Because the amount of zeros there are, that's the power that you get.
Okay, to quote Arhan word for word, because the number of zeros there are is the number of the power. Okay, good. When I am multiplying something, how do I move the decimal point? To the right or to the left? Everyone?
To the right.
To the right. If I'm multiplying it by 10 to the 4th power, how do I need to move the decimal point? If I have 2.16, how am I going to need to move the decimal point in order to multiply it by 10 to the 4th power? Sonia? 4 spots to the left? This way, 1.
4 places to the right.
I'm going to need to move it 4 places to the right. 3, 4. So my new decimal point would be right here. And what do I do into those extra spaces? I write
0.
So what is 2.16 times 10 to the 4th power? What is that new number in word form? Aditya?
21,600.
21,600. Very good. When we're doing division, what direction do we multiply? What direction do we move the decimal point? Danielle? To the left. And if I'm dividing by 10 to the 3rd power, how many spots do I need to move that decimal point to the left? Danielle? 3 spots to the left. So if I have 800, once again I'm getting a little confused because once again I don't see a decimal point. Where is the decimal point? It's hiding. Where is it hiding? Jack?
After the second 0, because the second 0 is the ones.
Yeah, because this is the ones place, the decimal point is here. So if I'm going to move it 3 spots to the left, 1, 2, 3, my new decimal point is here. So my answer then becomes, Sporty, 0.8, yeah. And then what is that in word form? What is that in word form? 8/10. You got it. In 1 kilometer, how many meters are there? Sonia? Yes. Okay, so write this down in your notebooks. 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. Okay, the word kilo, this K, stands for kilo, which means 1,000, which is why there are 1,000 meters in a kilometer. So if you know that, which one's bigger, 1 kilometer or 1 meter? Which one's bigger, 1 kilometer or 1 meter? Tara?
1 kilometer.
How do you know that 1 kilometer is bigger than 1 meter?
Because 1 meter does not, it does not equal to 1 kilometer, and you need 1,000.
I would need 1,000 of the meters to equal 1 kilometer, right? If I said you have to go outside and run, kilometer measures distance. So if I were to say, please go outside and run 1 kilometer or 1 meter, it's your choice. Which one would you choose?
1 meter.
1 meter, because unless you want to run for a very long time, then you would run 1 kilometer. Okay, so if G stands for gram, which measures weight, okay? So if you know that kilo means 1,000, how many grams do you think there are in 1 kilogram? Arhan? 1,000, write it down. So which one's bigger then? A kilogram or a gram? Which one's bigger? If I were to tell you, hey, I could either give you 1 kilogram of gold or 1 gram of gold, which one would you choose?
1 kilogram.
1 kilogram, because how many grams of gold would it take to equal 1 kilogram of gold? 1,000. Okay. Now, milli, this M here stands for milli, okay? Okay. So liters measures volume, so how much stuff can fit inside of something else, okay? So 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters. Write it down. So write this down. 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. The C stands for centi. Okay, which equals 100. You might have heard of century, right? That comes from the same word. Okay, so century means 100 years. Okay, so it's important. It's kind of confusing that I put these on the same slide because kilo, and milli both mean 1,000, whereas centi means 100. So don't get confused about that. In this problem, we're changing from meters to centimeters, okay? And we know 1 meter equals how many centimeters? 100, but how can I write that using exponents? Lakshin?
10 to the power of 2.
Okay, so we know that 1 meter equals 10 to the power of 2 centimeters, and this is what you're writing down in your notebook. Good. Now, if I have instead 1.37 meters, is that also equal 10 to the power of 2 centimeters? No, it's equal to 1.37 times 10 to the power of 2 centimeters, right? Okay, do we know how to multiply by 10 to the power of 2?
Yeah.
How does that mean we need to move the decimal point? What do we need to do to the decimal point? Lauren? We need to move the decimal point 2 spots to the right. So what is that equal to? 137 centimeters. Good. Now, let's try this again with the millimeters. This time we're converting from meters to millimeters. So from meters to millimeters. How many millimeters do I have in 1 meter? How many millimeters are there in 1 meter? Arun?
There are 10 to the power of 3.
Thank you for saying an exponent form. There are 10 to the power of 3 millimeters in 1 meter. Okay, so how can if I have 1.37 meters, what do I have to multiply to find out how many millimeters there are? What do I need to do? Aditya?
10 to the power of 3 times.
Yeah, 10 to the power of 3 times 1.37. And when I'm multiplying by 10 to the power of 3, how does that affect the decimal point? Junbak? 1 spot to the right total? 3 spots to the right, yeah. So 1, 2, 3. And so how many millimeters are there in 1.37 meters? Itai?
There's 1,370.
Millimeters. Good. Okay. And you guys, writing the labels is always important, but it's especially important when we're dealing with conversions because you need to know, do you mean 1,370 meters or millimeters or centimeters? So make sure you write that, okay? If I'm changing from meters to centimeters, it's getting bigger, so we know we need to multiply. What do we need to multiply by? Alina? 100 or 10 to the power of 2. So if it's ever telling you to change from meters to centimeters, you know you need to multiply that number by 10 to the power of 2. Okay? You guys should write this down because this is kind of like the rule. Right? Now, what if I'm changing from meters to millimeters? Is it the unit getting smaller or bigger? Aditya?
It's getting smaller.
So should my number be getting bigger or smaller?
Bigger.
So if my number is getting bigger, am I multiplying or dividing? Multiplying. And this time, what should I multiply from? If the problem's telling you to go from meters to millimeters, I need to multiply that number by what, Ben?
10
To the power of?
2.
So how many millimeters are there in 1 meter?
3.
Why is it 3 and not 2?
That's 2.
How many millimeters are there in 1 meter?
1,000, so it's 10 to the power.
You got it. Okay, good. So here we can see the relationship between centimeters, millimeters, and meters is the same, but when I'm going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, I need to divide instead of multiply. Okay? Remember how when we were going from meters to millimeters, we had to multiply to get the number bigger, right? When I'm moving from millimeters to centimeters, how did I get from here? I had to divide by 10. And to get from here, I'm dividing by 10 to the power of 2, right? And then, but to move from here to here, I need to divide by what? 10 to the power of what?
2.
To get from millimeters to meters, I need to divide by 10 to the power of 3, because there are 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. You can see it down here. It says, to rename centimeters to meters, divide by 10 to the power of 2, which is what we're talking about here. To rename millimeters as meters, divide by 10 to the power of 3. So this is like the rule. This part right here is the rule, if you want to write it down. Okay? For this problem, we're trying to change it from meters to centimeters. Okay? Now we know that 1 meter is equal to how many centimeters? 1 meter is equal to how many centimeters? Lakshan? What does centi mean? Yep, and centi stands for what number? Good. So how many centimeters are there in 1 meter? Good. And we can write 100 as 10 to the power of
2.
Thank you. Very energetic answer. Good. So if we have meters and we're trying to change it to centimeters, are we going to have more or less?
More.
More. So should we multiply or divide?
Multiply.
Okay, so if I have 4.5 meters, that's equal to 4.5 times 10 to the power of 2 centimeters. Okay, so go ahead and solve that problem. How would you need to move the decimal point in order to solve that problem? As Ashwin said, we need to move the decimal point 2 spots to the right. So if I have 4 and 5/10, and I'm moving it 1, 2 spots to the right, our final answer becomes how many centimeters? Everyone?
450 centimeters.
450 centimeters. Good.